they're not even native to the land. Like, I'm more Semitic than any Israeli. I am an Arab. I am actually a Semite. I am more native to that land than any, well, not any, I wouldn't say any, but a lot of Israelis. A lot of them just come from Poland, for example.
We're here at the University of Oxford asking 3 questions.
Answer them correctly, win £100.
Let's do something.
I'm scared I'm going to say something very stupid and embarrassing and just get uploaded and I just get clowned on by the internet. But
Honestly, I think those questions, some of them can be a little easier than others, but trust in yourself. I'm going to explain to you the rules of the game real quick. So what we're going to do right now, I'm going to ask you 3 questions. If you answer all of them correctly, you can win £100. The first question worth £20, second question worth £50, third question worth £100. That's going to be the hardest question. At any point of the game, you can actually exit, take the money that you won. So if you won the first question, you won £20, you can leave, take the money with you. If you choose to go to the second question and bet for the £50, if you answer it incorrectly, you lose it, but basically you can exit at any point, okay? Are you consent to be on camera?
yeah.
Okay, perfect. Question number 1. Who controlled Gaza before 1967?
I know this is some Zionist thing, bro.
What do you mean?
This is some like Zionist stand.
So this is just, well, we're just asking questions.
So what was the question?
Yeah, it's Gaza. Gaza. Who controlled Gaza before 1967?
Before 1967? Pretty sure it was Jordan.
Jordan. So Jordan controlled the West Bank, which I understand why you're like kind of
Egypt controlled Jordan.
Egypt, yeah. You actually know. Where are you? Like, where are you from? Did you born in London? Were you born in London? Libyan? Okay, cool. So Egypt controlled Gaza before 1967, but I'll say you were closer because obviously the West Bank was controlled by Jordan. Question number 2: what percentage of Jordanians are Palestinians?
I know it's a high percentage.
Okay.
This is something I swear it's gonna be some like answer like 90% or something like that.
90%. So it is high, but it's not as high. So it's like 50 to 60%. It can be more, but like it's estimated to be like within 50 to 60%. But it is definitely like on the higher side of the population. Last question. Okay. When did Palestine declare independence?
When did Palestine declare independence?
Yeah.
I'm assuming 1967.
1967. So I think that's like when like the whole political movement kind of started with the flag and everything, but they declared officially independence in 1988 by Yasser Arafat. So I do actually have a question for you real quick, just because you said it's a Zionist thing. So what did you mean by that?
Like, is this...
Like if I'm asking you who controlled Gaza before 1967, like why would that be?
There's a Zionist stand right there, and then the first question you asked me was about Palestine, so I don't know, man. I didn't know.
No, just out of curiosity, because like obviously when people say Zionist today, the connotation is very bad. So like what do you mean by that? Have you ever like spoken to a Zionist before? Like I will say I'm Yemeni Jew, I'm a Zionist. I believe that Israel has a right to exist. It doesn't mean that I don't think that Palestinians belong in that land. I think the Palestinians belong in that land just like me. But when you say like Zionist is a connotation, like what do you mean by that?
I'm being recorded. I don't really want to say anything that I'm gonna regret. Like, I don't want to say. I don't want to
Fair enough, man. But like, do you think is it gonna be like? I want you to be honest. At the end of the day, like people can have different opinions. I spoke to people before that told me to my face, I'm anti-Zionist. I don't think Israel have a right to exist. I had people that told me even worse things. So like, when it comes to your perspective, at the end of the day, it's your opinion. You should be able to say your opinion. It is a free country, kind of, even though we are in London. But it is a free country. You can say your opinion.
I'd still prefer to be quiet.
The what?
I'd still prefer to be quiet.
So you don't really have like an opinion when it comes to that, like, or you have an opinion, you're just afraid to express it.
I have an opinion. I just don't express it.
Fair enough. Have you been to the pre-Palestine protest that was around here when they happened?
I don't really go to protests.
Gotcha. Okay. Free Palestine though?
Yeah, just for free Palestine, of course.
From Hamas too?
I don't like Hamas, but Hamas is a resistance group. I think Hamas is definitely a terrorist. But
do you think the Palestinians that live in Gaza see them as resistance fighters?
there's of course some that won't like them.
You know, the last statistic poll that was done by Palestinians, by Dr. Halil Shakaki, showed that actually only 34% of the Palestinians support Hamas, and the majority of them actually don't support Hamas in Gaza.
But how representative is that poll? And how anonymous was that poll?
It's all
Because
anonymous. It has to be anonymous because there's no freedom of speech in Gaza. You can get killed by Hamas if you say you don't support them. So it's anonymous polls. You can actually look at it. You can look Dr. Halil Shakaki. It's not a Zionist source. It's completely Palestinian, and they're doing it also in the West Bank. The West Bank, there's more support for Hamas, by the way, than Gaza, but it's because they didn't have to be in a war. But yeah, just so you know, majority of Palestinians that live in Gaza actually don't see them as their best representation as freedom fighters because they brought a lot of devastation to Gaza.
And I'm sure a lot of the people in Gaza would also not support Israel. I think Israel has brought an equal amount of devastation, if not more.
I agree with you.
Hamas, I agree, have done heinous things. We have to remember the conditions, the environment of Hamas compared to the environment of Israel. Hamas are soldiers who grew up under the oppression of Israel. They're gonna grow up, they're gonna develop this hatred of Israel. Some say it's justified, some say it's not. And with this hatred, the things they do, of course I don't justify it. I don't think that's moral.
I appreciate that.
But it has some context that you need to understand. Whereas the devastation that Israel puts onto Gaza, what's the context that justifies that?
So first of all, I appreciate you saying that you don't support what Hamas is doing. I spoke to people that support Hamas before. I wouldn't mind as long as you're respectful, I'll talk to you. I appreciate that you're saying you don't support them though. I will say though to that, because I agree with that, right? Like if, for example, a Palestinian who live in Gaza grew up in a circumstances that for him he sees like being oppressed, I can understand why, and also obviously there's indoctrination, the UNRWA schools teach them that me, a Jew, I will one day hide behind a tree and a tree will open his mouth and will tell him that there is a Jew behind me. I understand that indoctrination happens and even children can be indoctrinated to hate. It doesn't mean that they were born bad. But I will say to that, if that's true and Hamas is only hating Israel and Jews because of, let's say, the occupation, why was there massacres of Jews before Israel was created in 1920, for example, like the Hebron massacre? Like there were massacres in that land from radicals on Jews before the creation of Israel. So I think what we actually need to focus on, instead of focusing on what caused what and like what came first, the chicken or the egg, what came first, the oppression or the resistance, we really need to focus on, okay, right now we have a problem, right? Where Palestinians are dying, where Israelis are dying. How can we solve that problem with least amount of people dying and actually achieve justice for both people? Do you think you have an idea of how we can achieve justice for both people? For you, is it a one-state solution? Is it a two-state solution? Is it just a Palestine? Is it just an Israel? Is it a state for both people? Is it two states? So both people can actually get justice?
I'm not an avid supporter of Gaddafi, but Gaddafi had an idea and he supported an idea of Israelstein.
Okay.
I don't really know how that would work, but I think preferably for me, I'd say Palestine be free as a one state first, Israelstein second, and then the Israeli state third.
So essentially, like when you say Palestine will be free, you mean like one state for Jews and Muslims and Christians to live together in peace equally?
Yes, sure.
When you say yes, sure, you mean like yeah, or like yeah, sure, like equally sure.
I don't know how to put it into words, but there's a difference between a one-state solution where it's Palestine, and a one-state solution where it's Israel. I don't really know how to word the difference, but there just is a difference.
Are you Muslim?
I am Muslim. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. So obviously I'm Jewish. I speak to a lot of Muslims, and when I ask them, when you say Palestine, like why? Because a lot of them, they tell me, F Israel and all of that. And I tell them, well, to me, I think the most reasonable name to that piece of land, doesn't matter if it's Jews, Muslims, Christians live there, the most reasonable name is Israel, because Israel was a prophet in the Quran as well, right? So Israel was Yaqub, was the name of a prophet, is a holy name, where Palestine is a name that was given to the land by Europeans, like the Romans. It doesn't really represent anything Islamic, Jewish, it doesn't represent anything.
I think the Israel of today is not representative of Bani Israel referred to in Islam. I think there's a very clear distinction. And I think, matter of fact, I think the people of Israel, they're not even...
The real Bani Israel?
They're not even native to the land. I'm more Semitic than any Israeli. I am an Arab. I am actually a Semite. I am more native to that land than any... Well, not any, I wouldn't say any, but a lot of Israelis. A lot of them just come from Poland, for example.
Okay, so...
Netanyahu's real name, he changed his name.
You're talking about their last name? You're talking about his last name?
I don't remember, but I remember, yeah, his first name was something else and he changed it.
So you know that first of all, surnames in Judaism is actually very similar to Muslims. We don't have surnames. We don't have last names. So Jews today, for example, my grandparents were Yemenis, from Sana'a, from Aden. So obviously I'm not Polish, okay? I've never been to Poland. Not actually a place I really want to go to.
Wait. We've seen that 68.24% of you who watch our videos don't subscribe to our channel.
If you enjoy videos just like these with open dialogue, subscribe now.
Now back to the video.
But oh yeah, my grandparents, they came from Yemen, so obviously we're not Polish. But when you say that you're more Semitic than me, why do you say that? Because obviously we Jews, we don't believe that we're more or less Semitic than you. We believe that, obviously, Semitic also, it's not a people, it's the languages.
Like when I said I'm more Semitic, I don't mean that I'm more Semitic than every Israeli. I'm just saying a lot of Israelis, their roots do not have any connection to Israel. A lot of them are European.
You're talking about like Ashkenazi Jews that like moved to Israel? Okay, so let me ask you this, just for the fun of it. You're from Libya.
Yeah.
You live here. Were you born here or were you born in Libya?
I was born in Libya.
Libya, okay, cool. So you're truly Libyan by also nationality. How many more generations, but your nationality is Libyan, is it also your ethnicity, right?
Like, my origins, from my dad's paternally, I am Arab.
Arab.
So paternally, I do come from Hijaz.
Like the Arabian, the Arabian Peninsula. How many more generations you need to live here in the UK? Let's say you got married, alhamdulillah, you have two children, you have a wife. How many generations will need to pass? How many more years will need to pass before your children will not be Arab anymore and now they'll be British? They'll be English.
I think practically they will always be Arab.
And that's exactly why we're saying that Jews, that we all come from this one piece of land called Judea. This is where our ethnogenesis started. Yeah, we were kicked out by the Romans to different areas. My family stayed in the Middle East, in Yemen, but those Jews that went to Poland and to Russia or to Ukraine, they're not less Jews than me because they lived in the diaspora for generations, just like your grandparents, your grandchildren are not going to be any less Arab.
The thing
it's
is,
your ethnicity.
Although my grandchildren, let's say I married a completely different ethnicity and this has been going on for multiple generations.
Like assimilated.
Yeah, so although my grandchildren, great-grandchildren, whatever, they will be Arab paternally, that doesn't really constitute them a right to the Arabian land.
No, I agree with you. If you assimilate, like say you marry somebody who's not Arab and your children do the same and their children do the same, yeah, you're not gonna have as like per DNA, sure, you'll find some Arab DNA, but DNA doesn't constitute your culture, right? Culture doesn't work by DNA. DNA is a new concept.
So the Ashkenazi Jews, they might be paternally Jewish,
but they haven't assimilated. They always sticked with themselves, and this is why they were genocided, because they didn't assimilate.
Then even then, they don't, I don't know how to word this properly. I don't want to say something I regret, because I know I'm going to be recorded, I know this is going to be clipped or whatever.
Honestly, I want to tell you one thing about what we do. We are not in the business of making people look bad, sounds bad. There's a lot of advocates that do this and find a way to clip things to just hurt the person that talks to them. I don't see any value in that. I see you as a valuable person to speak to. You're Muslim, you're Arab, you have opinions about the land. It doesn't matter if I agree with you or not. My job is not to make you look bad. I think it's actually will make me equally as bad if a person that sits next to me and try to have a genuine conversation with me. That's what I do. So that's not what I'm trying to do, and I'm telling you that I guarantee you to that's not what we're trying to do. And actually the entire conversation, we're posting it as is to YouTube. We're not editing a thing. Every single thing you said is going to be there. It's not going to be taken out of context. So I really do want you to feel free to express yourself without feeling like we're going to cut it and make you sound terrible.
What was the last thing you said?
So about Ashkenazi Jews, to me, they're just as Jewish as me, because when we all came to the land, we all did the same practices, spoke the same language, we keep the same holidays, we pray from the same books. Yeah, maybe when my grandparents sing, they sing more Mizrahi tones, they have ma'awals, and they do differently than an Ashkenazi that pray, but we say the same text, we have the same book. So to me, they're just as Jewish as me, just like to you, an Arab who were maybe born in the UK, but is still Arab, speak Arabic, have the culture, is going to be Arab even in 200 years if he keep to his culture and his traditions, because you can take a people from the land, but you can't take the culture out of them unless they want to and unless they assimilate. And the Jews never assimilated. And even Benjamin Netanyahu, we were talking about, it doesn't matter if I like him, I don't like him, it's a whole different discussion, but we never actually had last names. Jews always went, so for example, my name is Talia. my Jewish name would have been Talia, this daughter of Ariel. It's similar to Arabs, right? Ibn El. So it's like this. So Talia, the daughter of Ariel. You, the son of. It's always like that. But when the Jews, for example, moved to Europe, the Europeans wanted them to start adopting last names and be like everybody else. Because you can't just be Talia, the daughter of Ariel. You need to have a last name. So they invented last names like the carpenter. Like they invented last names about their profession and what they did. So when they came back to Israel, a lot of them changed their last names to be more Hebrew-like. But a last name was actually not a Jewish concept. My last name is Joseph, like the Prophet, Allahu Salam, Yusuf Allahu Salam. So it's different. But I think, honestly, I know you need to go. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah.
I really wish you only happiness, prosperity, health, and hopefully you talk to more Israelis like me and you understand that, honestly, this is the only way we can one day, alhamdulillah, achieve peace and true peace, you know? Because we have more similarities than you think, than differences.
No, I think our main similarity is Tawheed, monotheism. But that's a whole separate conversation.
La ilaha illallah. It's a very important part, and we both believe in that. And you know, I believe that on the day that we start to act like the true Jews, because we are the real Jews, but we're not acting like Bnei Israel because we're not taking responsibility. The day that we'll start taking responsibility and start acting like Musa alayhi salam and Dawood alayhi salam and start acting like the real Bnei Israel, you will see us as part of Bnei Israel, and I believe you wouldn't resist us as much, because I believe that if all Jews in Israel tomorrow will say La ilaha illallah and become Muslim.
Yeah, because I find it very ironic that you guys want this Israeli state. You want a state that represents the Jews. It's almost as if you want a religious state. But then I look at the state of Israel and it's a completely secularized, westernized. It's not, like, how can you want a religious state, but then that state is not religious in any way, shape or form? It's just completely secular and westernized. It's like a contradiction.
You know what's funny? I actually agree with you 1,000,000%, but I will tell you one thing, even though I agree with you. Judaism, differently than Islam and Christianity, it's not a religion. So, you know, like for example, in Christianity, if you don't believe in Jesus, you're not a Christian. If you don't believe in Muhammad, you're not a Muslim. You can be a Jew even if you don't believe in God, because Judaism, we're tribes of people. We are Bnei Israel. So I agree with you. Israel need to be way more Jewish. Not necessarily religious aspect, but we need to be more Jewish. We need to go by the Torah, we need to follow Jewish law. And it doesn't mean that some people can be secular. I do believe that people can choose to be secular. I am secular, but I still believe in God, and I'm still God is in everything, every single day in my day-to-day life. But I believe that you are right, that Israel needs to be more Jewish, and I'm actually so incredibly thankful that you said that, because I believe that the day that we again will be more who we are, and be less care about what the Western civilization will say about us, and less want to be like America or like Europe or like the West, and actually stick to who we are, Bnei Israel, go by the book, trust in God. I believe that then that's going to be also the beginning to the solution. I believe in that, truly. It's a good point.
Yeah, that's all I've got to say, man.
Yeah, God bless you. Okay, have a great day.
That was a great conversation.
Marshall, you know, that was a great conversation. And if you enjoy great conversations and open dialogue just like this, subscribe now. Let's do something.